What if the most powerful prison wasn't made of steel or stone, but of belief? A prison that keeps you locked inside even when the door is wide open. No guards, no locks, just your mind convincing you that escape is impossible. Psychologists call this learned helplessness, and it began with one of the most disturbing experiments in modern psychology. In the 1960s, Martin Seligman and Stephen Meyer set out to understand how animals respond to pain. They placed groups of dogs inside cages. Some of the dogs had control. If they pressed a panel, the shock stopped. Others were powerless. No matter what they did, the electric shocks kept coming. At first, those powerless dogs barked, jumped, and struggled to escape. But nothing worked. Eventually, they gave up. They simply lay down, whined, and accepted the pain. Now here comes the chilling twist. Later, the same dogs were placed into a new cage where escaping was easy. All they had to do was leap over a low barrier. The dogs who had learned control jumped to safety almost immediately. But the dogs who had been conditioned to believe escape was impossible, they stayed put. They didn't even try. Think about that. Freedom was right there. No lock, no barrier they couldn't overcome. Yet they remained in place, helpless, because they had learned there was no point in fighting. Dogs aren't the only ones who behave this way. Humans are frighteningly similar. People stuck in toxic relationships sometimes don't leave, even when escape is possible. Workers in abusive jobs endure misery for years without looking for alternatives. Victims of broken systems begin to believe that nothing will ever change, so they stop trying. The cage isn't real anymore, but the mind still believes it is. This mental trap is devastating. Learned helplessness drains motivation. It crushes creativity. It spreads hopelessness like a virus. Depression researchers discovered that people who suffer from learned helplessness begin to internalize failure. They believe bad outcomes are permanent, personal, and uncontrollable. Why bother? The brain whispers. You'll fail anyway. And soon, they stop fighting. Not because they can't win, but because they believe they can't. The invisible cage becomes stronger than any real one. And here's the most terrifying part. Learned helplessness doesn't just affect individuals. It can shape entire societies. When groups of people face repeated injustice or corruption, they sometimes stop protesting. They stop demanding change. They convince themselves that nothing will ever be different. And in that silence, those in power tighten their grip. But the story doesn't end in despair. Later studies revealed that helplessness can be unlearned. When animals were gently forced to take action and experience success, their brains slowly rewired. The invisible cage began to disappear. They ran. They escaped. They lived. Humans, too, can break free. When people are supported, encouraged, and shown small victories, the mind learns again, my actions matter. This is the foundation of modern cognitive therapy and resilience training. The very psychologist who discovered helplessness, Martin Seligman, later pioneered the field of positive psychology, proving that hope, agency, and belief can rebuild shattered minds. The learned helplessness experiment reveals something both terrifying and hopeful. Terrifying, because it shows how easily the human mind can be trained to give up. Hopeful, because it proves the lock isn't permanent. The same brain that learns to surrender can also learn to fight again. So the question is, where in your life are you lying down in the cage, convinced escape is impossible? And what if the truth is the door has been open all along?